Hello everyone. Today is day 11, so this is sort of the hump day. After today, we're on the downhill side where we've got more than halfway through. So I'm going to read today's. I'm hard on myself for my marriage ending. I want to heal, have peace, and be myself again. Such a great one. I was divorced before. I was married before my marriage. Now I was with my first husband with him 13 years, married 11. We have a child together. And I read a book during that divorce called Crazy Times. And it's all about basically and I'm paraphrasing in the book, they basically say you really do kind of go crazy during that period of time. And if you think about it, it makes sense. You are absolutely uprooting the life you knew. That's a huge deal, a huge deal. And having been there, done that, and I did it with a baby. My daughter was very a year and a half when we split up. And it took me even longer because everything I was going through to try and figure that out. And it's definitely not for the faint of heart. And it's challenging. And then you have all the ruminating thoughts, and I don't know the circumstance of the person that sent this in, but I know for me, there's always the guilt. There's always should have tried harder, all that stuff. And there's just so many things that go with that. And it's a crazy time. It's a crazy time. And if I had tapping back then, it probably would have been a little less traumatic for me. I mean, it's still traumatic. It's something that's this relationship that's had its life and it's ending, and this life that you've known is coming to an end, and in every way that you know it to be. And this person that was your best friend can be very adversarial. It can be that way. It doesn't mean it has to be that way. It can be, but there's hurt feelings, on both sides, no matter who ends it and who doesn't. So it's just so much to deal with around that. And now knowing tapping the way I would do, what I would say is the place is to practice the acceptance of, I am judging myself for this, or, I want to heal and have peace, but what if it's just not time yet for healing and peace? And let me stop my mail so it doesn't ding. Let's tap. Karate chop. Even though I really am hard on myself for my marriage ending, there's so many ways I blame myself. I choose to honor this truth right now. Even though I'm so hard on myself for my marriage ending, I make myself so wrong for this. I choose to honor my truth right now. Even though that bully in my brain is beating me up about my marriage ending with all the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, I choose to honor my truth right now. Go to the eyebrow. I'm so hard on myself for my marriage ending. I see all the ways I blame myself. This is a failure. Because that's what the culture would tell me. That I have failed at this. And I should feel bad about it. But what if I could learn to feel less bad about it? What if I could learn to judge myself less? So when I catch that bully in my brain, pounding me to dust, or just being really sneaky and sounding rational and reasonable, should have gave it more effort. You gave up too soon. And I know it's the bully by how I'm feeling after this voice speaks to me. If I feel really bad about myself and I'm really judging myself, I see that. And what if that's the best thing that I can do right now? Not try to feel better, not try to look on the bright side. I'm in a grieving process for an ending of a relationship that was a big part of my life. And what if, by allowing myself more space to grieve and honoring the part of me that's grieving and practice giving it some loving kindness, what if that changes everything for me? My marriage has ended. And I have a lot of company in that camp. And what if I can find the support I need to help me through the grieving process? Even if it's something I wanted. And if it's something I didn't want, either way, there's tremendous grief. And what if I could tune in to that part of me that feels this sadness and grief and send it some loving kindness? And what if the more I do that, over time, the lighter I start to feel? And lighter might look like just judging myself less. And that's progress. And what if I can be guided and directed to the perfect support network for me to help me through this grieving process so that I know that I'm not alone? And what if eventually something amazing can come out of this that I can't even imagine right now? But right now, I just honor my grief and practice allowing it. Take a breath. So I've explained this before in other videos, but this is the way I look at it. When you have that critical voice, call it whatever you want, where it's like, you know, you should have tried harder. It can sound rational, reasonable, but you still feel like crap after it's spoken to you. It's like, you're such an idiot, you know, whatever it is. It can be any variation of that. When you feel really bad and like the judge, you're feeling the judgment of self, that's the bully. But when you feel that like, you know, that really potent emotion of like fear or trauma, or that, to me, that's the kid. The kid is activated. That really strong emotional charge where you're like, that's the child. So what I find is the bully beats up on the child. The critical parent beats up on the child. And when you start to separate that, Eckhart Tolle always says, watching the thinker is what he calls it. So I say, who's running my show? Whose voice am I listening to right now? Is it that sneaky bully that's like, you should have tried harder? And you might have people in your life that are saying you should have tried harder. And maybe they mean well, maybe they don't. We don't know. But it's like, that's when you want to tap. And then when you find that, like, I'm in panic and fear. I went into panic and fear. I judged myself. Then I went in panic and fear, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And blah, blah, blah. I've completely uprooted and changed my life. There were so many things in my life that changed. And so many things that I thought would work out, but didn't. And then other things that worked out tremendously. Like my daughter's best friend in her life, she would have never met her otherwise. So her and I have had conversations about that, and starting to see the things that have changed. That, like, this would have never happened had the divorce not happened. And even though divorce is so much more prevalent in our culture, there's still so much shame and guilt around it. So the key is just to unpack the bag, to know that you're in a grieving process, who's running my show, and then to tap through that as much as you can. And I hope you found this helpful, and that's it for today, and we'll see you back here tomorrow for day 12. Bye for now.